Have you ever heard the term bolting and was wondering what that meant? Stay tuned and we'll show you and see if there's anything you can do about it. Hey folks, welcome back to the Rockin' Sea Homestead. My name is Lance. I want to welcome you to our channel. And if you haven't noticed, we're standing in front of our onion bed here, and these suckers are bolting, and we have to do something about it. So let's see what we can do and figure this out. So the main question, what's bolting? Simple answer, it's when the plant tries to make seeds. So this is the plant. There's some trigger within each different plant that says, hey, I want to grow seeds and multiply. That's what bolting is. So these are onions, and these are all filled with little seeds. I do believe this is edible, but so what the plant's trying to do is actually try to spread out. Eventually these are going to open up, seeds will go everywhere, and we'll have onion plants everywhere. We don't want that. Very similar to a lot of other plants like our lettuces, garlic chives, even our garlic back here behind me is starting to bolt. And all of that means is in that plant's lifespan is it's ready to go on to the next phase and grow. So unfortunately for our onions here, due to some of the extreme weather temperatures we've had it where it was almost freezing and then almost in the 95s all within the same week here in Oklahoma in the last month. So the onions are just confused. They don't know what's going on. So they're thinking, hey, my lifespan's about over. I've got to multiply and I got to do it quick. So that's why these things started shooting up and started bolting. Same thing will happen to our lettuce and as we kind of go along here. So, but unfortunately, with the onions, we've got to take care of them because with the onions, once they start bolting, a couple things happen internally. There's actually a whole nother onion that's starting to grow inside. Now, I've heard and I've researched several different ways to try to take care of this. From what I found, pretty much nothing you can do, but there are maybe some things, but for the most part, once it starts doing this, you just got to pull it and you got to harvest it. Now for us, not a huge deal other than maybe the onions aren't going to get as big as we'd want them to be, but we're going to preserve them in a way where we're going to chop them up and freeze them. So we don't have to really worry about long-term storage like on a shelf or in a cabinet somewhere. Because when they do get bolty, unfortunately, they're not going to preserve as long as what you'd see on a normal onion at the store. So that's kind of the drawback on it. But unfortunately here in Oklahoma, it's one of those two for states. Too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. So this is what we got to deal with. So here we are in our garlic bed. And unfortunately, the garlic didn't do as well as our onions, but this section of it did really well. This is all elephant garlic. And it really took off well. This is what they consider a hardneck garlic because the neck of it's super hard. And hardneck garlic will actually bolt, as you can see here. And this is actually called a garlic scape, I should say. And it's totally edible. So what you do, very similar to what we did to this one here, is you just come in here, just chop it off. You can take this in, preserve it, eat it, chop it up, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do the same thing with these. So in this type of garlic, or this type of situation, the bolting's not as bad as what it is for the onions. There you go. And that smells so good. So these are getting close. So we'll probably have about another 3 weeks between this and our soft neck garlic we have. And then once it kind of gets done growing, we'll pull it. And really the reason why you want to chop that off is it eliminates the growth up to the seeds and it pours that energy back into the bulb and it makes bigger bulbs. We should have probably cut those a little bit earlier, but we wanted to kind of grow out a little bit to show you guys what it looks like when they bolt. So for garlic, not a huge problem when it comes to bolting, not like onions or your lettuces. So now we're over here in our lettuce and spinach bed. Now these were just planted probably about 2 weeks ago. As you can see, they're coming up really, really well. These are definitely not close to bolting at this point. However, we've been very lucky the last couple of weeks and had very mild temperatures. Here in Oklahoma, you never know. But within a couple weeks, if it gets up to 90, 95, these things could go bolting just like that. And Once lettuce starts bolting, it usually gets a little bit of a sour taste or bitter taste to the leaves, and it's usually not any good. So that's why a lot of people kind of rotational crop, kind of plant them. So they'll plant a little section, then they'll plant another section a week later and a week later. So if it does get warm, they can kind of spread that out a little bit. Ours, we just planted it all at once just because we just had that time and we just had to get it done. But as you can see, these things are going great. They're not bolting yet, but we will have to watch them. And we've had some lettuce bolt last year that got to like 3 feet tall. And you know, we had to kind of harvest them kind of from the bottom, kind of working up the stalk, and these things were huge by the time they started bolting. But again, unfortunately for lettuce, once it bolts, it's pretty much done. So this is our cilantro plant. This is our first year growing cilantro, but it's very similar to like a lettuce or parsley, kind of in that same family. And as you can tell, when we first got the plant, all the leaves look like this. Then as you're growing up, you see that it's starting to look like that, and little flowers are starting to kind of bloom up here, or look like they're starting to bud out. Where was that one right here? So we think that this is starting to bolt. All right, so we're over here in Marcy's herb garden, and we're close to our chive. So this is an onion chive, and it is going great. These were both transplanted this year, and no bolting in our onion chives. However, over here on our garlic chives, they're starting to bolt, and as you can see, they're getting flowers. Now these are edible, so you can just chop them off, and what we're going to do is actually just come through here and just cut it real short, probably about right there. Cut it all off, take it in. We'll actually preserve these. We like to dry them in our dehydrator, and you can actually dehydrate the blooms, eat them, mix them with salads, all that kind of stuff. Very garlicky and very spicy, but that's something that we like to do with them. So I'm going to take care of that real quick, and then after that we got to get the onions pulled. All right, so we're back here in the onion patch. We're about to harvest these, but I did want to kind of talk about, there is maybe one way you can kind of save your onions. If you have little ones like this that are just starting to bolt, you can kind of pinch them off, squeeze them over so they kind of bend over. These, I'm having a hard time getting them to bend just because they're so sturdy and strong. However, it may cause a root or another plant to grow inside of the bulb, and you'll lose some of the flesh down here. So the one that we cut off, this is the one that we cut off, it's pretty dang big. You can kind of see where that was starting to develop. So this was all part of the stalk right there. So that was going to turn in to another onion. And so only the bulb would have, the flesh of the onion that you normally would have would be like right here. And then right here, if you took this completely out, and you see how sturdy that thing is right there. That's a good picture of it. So that's a whole nother onion plant trying to grow, and all we'd be left with would have been that. So that's kind of the downside of waiting to see if you're going to get anything. At this point, we can still harvest this, cut it up and freeze it. It's going to taste just like an onion. That's all we care about, is just having some for the freezer for later in the year. So just wanted to kind of show you that, and we're going to get harvesting. Well, we got most of the onions pulled. I'd say we at least got a good 10 pounds or so. We'll measure this up when we get inside. But as you see, we did leave some of them. Some of them we try to do the whole cut and bend over method, see if that works. Like I said, we have probably about maybe 10, 11 of them in here. And we'll see what they are. You know, they have strong stalks on them, even though they're leaning over. They've just been beat up by wind and hail this year, as you can tell on some of these. They got pretty damaged. But we are super thrilled with our harvest. Even though they bolted early on us, we're wanting to get a little bit bigger. But hey, when you can get onions look like that from your front yard, why not go for it, right? So, can't wait to see how these things smell so good. Wish we had smell-o-vision. Well guys, thanks again for coming back, watching our video all the way to the end. We really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. It'll be a great time to do that. Ring that bell so you get notified every time a video comes out. Hey, and leave us some comments. How do you guys like to grow your onions? Have you already planted them? Or are you just starting them now? Let us know down below. We'd really appreciate it. And from our homestead to yours, keep growing, and we'll see you on the next video.